Liberals, I have bad news. Donald Trump will continue to impact American politics long after he's gone. How? Through judges. He has appointed a massive amount of conservative judges to not just the Supreme Courts, but all types of circuit courts, judicial review court, every part of the legal system at this point is stock full of conservative judges, and it really has the potential to be devastating to future liberal presidents, because the thing is, well, these courts, like the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals, how many times have you heard on the news that the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has done a major thing to stop something that you found morally repugnant in Donald Trump's agenda, whether it be the family separation policy, that judge out there in California who is pretty instrumental in forcing the Trump administration to do more to look after these families, or the Muslim ban early on in his administration is a big example of times where the court actually stepped up and did the right thing and actually trying to protect people who were in harm's way. Like that is a real important part of our democracy, and a great way to keep a president in check, a check on people's powers of the judiciary, not just the Supreme Court. A lot of people think, the judiciary is the Supreme Court, but no, there is a bunch of other very, very important smaller courts that control politics in a big way, and they're now being filled with people like this. For example, Lawrence Van Dyke. He was confirmed just around Halloween. Has been confirmed, but the American Bar Association has shown no shortage of criticism of this guy in its assessment released of Trump's newest judicial nominee. You see, I feel like you see all these stories. They come out every once in a while. They're like, this isn't very good. But I mean, it's not the end all be all. Like, it's not going to be something crazy. It's something that's always a sideshow to whatever's happening now. But I want to take your attention away from whatever's happening now and to kind of direct it to this issue, because it's a big issue. A lot of these people are being are young, highly, highly right wing, and because that's pretty much all that matters. So colleagues found Lawrence Van Dyke to be arrogant, lazy, an ideologue, and lacking a knowledge of day-to-day practice. The chair of an ABA committee wrote in a scathing letter, the result of 60 interviews with lawyers, judges, and others who worked with the Justice Department attorney. Acquaintances also alleged a lack of humility, an entitlement temperament, a closed mind, and inconsistent commitment to being candid. The letter said it deemed Van Dyke not qualified for a spot on the U.S. Court of Appeals in the Ninth Circuit. The strongly worded review drew equally strong reactions at a Wednesday hearing of the Senate Judiciary Committee from Democrats who called the ABA findings unusual and troubling, as well as from Republicans who called it a low attack from a group they've long accused of bias against conservatives. So, of course, every time that there's someone criticizing a conservative for just being absolutely just unfit and unacceptable for positions such as Ninth Circuit Court, these guys are going to go crazy, unsurprised. But yeah, it was a very, very strongly worded review, but one charge particularly upset Van Dyke itself. The ABA's report said that he would not affirmatively say affirmatively that he would be fair to any litigant before him, notably members of the LGBTQ community. So that is very interesting. Asked if that was correct, and how many struggled for almost 15 seconds here to find his words. It is a fundamental belief of mine that all people are created in the image of God, and they should still be treated with dignity and respect. So this is this guy just unable to handle himself here in this hearing, pretty much acting like, woe is me, I believe it. Like, your peers would not have just thrown this out. Like, these are lawyers who are very, like, I feel like they're not just going to throw out the
letter also says
massive information.
That
this is Josh
not
Hawley.
Commit.
This is Josh Hawley. He's a conservative here asking this question.
To being fair to litigants before you, notably members of the LGBTQ community. Can you speak to that? Did you say that you wouldn't be fair to members of the LGBT community?
Senator,
Q on the waterworks here. Yeah, the onions on the table. Put them in full spread.
That was the part of the letter did not say that.
His like bottom lip is like quivering.
I apologize.
It's all right.
Oh dear. He's still going.
No, I did not say that. I do not believe that. It is a fundamental belief of mine that all people are created in the image of God. They should all be treated with dignity and respect. Senator.
Can you commit today to this committee that you will treat, if confirmed, that you would treat every litigant who came before you with respect and with dignity?
Absolutely, Senator. I would not have allowed myself to be nominated for this position if I did not think I could do that.
Including members of the LGBT community and any other community.
Yeah, so there he is pretty much saying, like, I would never. I would never. Yeah, so yeah, the emotional response came an hour and a half into a hearing for the latest judiciary nominee to draw Democrat scrutiny as the Trump administration installs a record number of new conservative judges. Van Dyke came under fire Wednesday for his past positions on issues such as gun control, environmental protections, and abortion, as well as LGBTQ rights. So, yes, that is the problem. This group of highly litigious lawyers did not pull this out of nowhere. Like they know when to say things. Like they're not the type to just. If this was a bunch of like TMZ columnists, like the American Association of Gossip columnists here, like I think you may have a little bit more of a point. But like this is a little funny. So yeah, Senator Dianne Feinstein of California on Wednesday noted Van Dyke's support for same-sex marriage ban in Nevada, where he served as Solicitor General. Patrick Leahy raised an op-ed Van Dyke wrote in 2004 while attending law school, in which he argued that same-sex marriage would hurt families, consequentially children, and society. My personal views have definitely changed since 2004, Van Dyke told Leahy. And he maintained that, obviously, regardless, that his opinion would not intrude on his decisions as a judge. For Democrats, the ABA's letter fueled existing doubts about the Deputy Assistant Attorney General for the Justice Department's Environment and Natural Resources Division. Fairly damning, said Christopher Coons of the letter. Some pretty darn serious concerns, echoed Sheldon Whitehouse, saying the litany of colleagues' reservations could not be brushed aside. And I think the most compelling thing is here, these are not some watchdog group. These are colleagues of his here. Leahy said that he never encountered a letter like the Van Dyke assessment in his 45 years in Congress. Pat Leahy has been in Congress a long time. Van Dyke did not provide comment, but the Justice Department said in a statement the attorney's long record of public service. Yeah, so, and of course he says, as today's hearing confirmed, Van Dyke is deeply committed to the rule of law and treating all people fairly. So Van Dyke said at Wednesday's hearing that he found his ABA interview hurried through responses to criticisms that they had found. And of course, yeah, the ABA is going to be out to get him here. Obviously, who could have seen that one coming, right? But during the hearing, Republicans took aim at the ABA. As Van Dyke said, he'd been disappointed, shocked, and hurt to read the group's conclusions. Senator Josh Hawley was outraged that Van Dyke's ABA evaluator once donated 150 to the nominee's political opponent in a 2014 state Supreme Court race, a fact that probably explains the total ad hominem nature of this disgraceful letter. This is, again, one of the classic conservative conservative cries, ad hominem. Like, again, he's just not pulling this stuff out of his arse here. Because, I mean, you really do get the sense, you can really do get the sense that there is a desire for, there really, really is a desire for people like I feel like if these lawyers were having these words misrepresented, they would come out and say it. Like, these are not the people to come and let their colleague here be slandered. Republican lawmakers have long obviously called the ABA unfair, but when the group criticized another pending Trump judicial nominee, Sarah Pitlick, as inexperienced, Senator Ted Cruz called it a partisan mouthpiece. He pointed to donations from some group members to Democrats. Again, obviously, the shocking thing is here that lawyers support Democrats. But such complaints, are not universal among Republicans. Amid the fight over Pitlick, Dick Durbin pointed out that Senate Judiciary Committee Chairman Lindsey Graham had also received money from an ABA leader. Graham, in his response, called the organization a fine group, whose staff he trusts despite what he described as a liberal bias. While senators such as Hawley and others charged ABA with playing politics, Sheldon Whitehouse said he saw partisan maneuvering in all the criticism. I can't help but notice colleagues on both sides of the aisle don't hesitate to herald the ABA process when in support of a nominee they would like to see get on that court. So, yeah, I think the ABA process it's going to be pretty simple. Like, there's probably tons of nominees the Federalist Society can cook up for you guys that don't get completely shut down by the ABA. So, like, this is just a insane situation here. Sarah Pitlick, for one of them here, is another example of this kind of crazy new graft of judges that have been ending up at the courts as of late. Something about her, and this is a report here from Sarah. This is for Anisha Singh, a BuzzFeed contributor. Sarah Pitlick, again, she never tried a case, taken a deposition, or argued a motion. So, like, no trial experience, not a lawyer at all. The ABA noted when it unanimously determined that she was not qualified to be a federal judge. Among her many shortcomings, it cited the absence of any trial or real litigation experience. And I think there's a bunch of people who've been put in the courts who are like that by this administration. But her appointment to a job she was so clearly unqualified for was no surprise because she passes the only litmus test that matters for President Donald Trump and the Republican-controlled Senate. She's an extreme opponent of reproductive rights and freedoms. She was awarded a federal judgeship not because she's qualified for it, she's obviously not, but precisely because she's devoted her career to undermining constitutional freedoms that the mass majority of Americans have long voiced their support for. Here's a little bit of Pitlick's record. She's a lawyer at the Thomas More Society, an ultra-conservative anti-abortion law firm, and she opposes the Affordable Care Act's birth control benefit, calling the use of contraception evil and a seriously wrongful act, and gave a moral wrong and a grave moral wrong. Like, this is not someone who's going to be like, yeah, I'll take my opinions out here. Like, this is no biggie. It's not a problem. Like, we can just pass this off. I mean, I really hate abortion. I think using contraception is a deeply wrongful act. But in this case, I'm going to follow the letter of the law. I mean, come on. She unsuccessfully defended Iowa's unconstitutional 6-week abortion ban. She defended David Daledian, an anti-abortion operative who was behind the 2015 smear campaign against Planned Parenthood. He and his conspirators were ordered to pay $2.27 million in penalties for breaking the law. She also opposes surrogacy, saying that it's harmful to children and diminishes respect for motherhood and the unique mother-child bond. So, yeah, in other words, pretty much have that baby. And also voiced objection to vitro fertilization. The reality is that nearly 1 in 6 couples face infertility, and many of them have to turn to vitro treatments or surrogacy. That didn't seem to matter to her. As Senator Tammy Duckworth wrote, if Pitlick has her way, thousands of women like me may never be able to become moms. I believe she's handicapped from the war or Afghanistan. She fought in the war. But again, this is a very, very big deal. It's a very, very big problem. In less than 3 years, this President Trump has done nearly as much to shape the courts as Obama has done in 8 years. Trump hasn't simply given lots of lifetime appointments to lawyers. He's filled the bench with some of the smartest and most ideologically reliable men and women to be found in the conservative movement. Long after Trump leaves office, I mean, not everyone is as smart or as stupid as what's his name, Van Dyke, and who's sniffling and crying. Like, they're pretty much anti-abortion, very, very socially conservative, very, very fiscally conservative. These are activist judges for the conservative side. It's that simple. Both Obama and Trump appointed 2 justices to the Supreme Court, but Trump's impact on the High Court far exceeds Obama's because Trump has replaced the relatively moderate conservative Justice Anthony Kennedy with the hardline conservative Brett Kavanaugh, and that was after appointing Neil Gorsuch to fill an